A very warm welcome to all our viewers watching this program. Welcome to another Gida special. My name is Jonathan Bemdo Ipiaindi. I'm the head of operations and partnerships at Gida. We bring you these specials to help you delve into the faces behind the brands and the partners we tend to work with on our journey to developing this ecosystem. Today I'll be talking to Mr. Abdulkadir at Bilaad Realty, one of the biggest and most reputable real estate organizations in Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
It's my pleasure to have you too.
So let's start at the beginning because I believe our viewers would like to know what inspired all this. What was the light bulb moment that inspired the creation of Bilaad Realty?
Well, I think from a background perspective, we've been in the industry longer than Bilaad has been in existence. However, from all the places that we've participated in within the real estate industry, one thing that had resonated with us is the mediocre deliverables that have been provided by most real estate developers. And for us, we felt it was high time somebody is able to come out and establish a particular standard, a new way, a new order of doing things and holding people responsible for what they promised to do. So practically speaking, for us, at that point in time, all of the places that we've been participating in are places where we were subjected to people's responses and approvals. And unfortunately, a lot of people within the industry are finding ways around how to just make do with what is obtainable, as long as the profit margins and the bottom lines are good enough for the company. So for us, it wasn't particularly just about that, but it was about satisfying the customers and ensuring that customers are beneficiaries of an unmatched experience when it comes to property ownership and the experience of living within the environment. So particularly, I'll give you an analogy. Okay. When it comes to home delivery, what has become the norm within our industry, particularly at the time, was that when you're buying any property, there is a reserve that you're supposed to keep to, put it in order, right? There are things that you're supposed to take care of. Nobody really expects that when you buy a brand new property, you just move in and you enjoy something that is brand new. But then the analogy I want to give you is when you are buying a brand new car, it comes brand new. You don't buy a brand new car and expect that you need to change the tires. You need to service the vehicle. You need to buy, you need to refill the gas to get air conditioned. You need to do this or you need to do that. When you buy a brand new car, you should have the feeling of everything being in perfect condition. That is the anticipation and that is what we hope to be able to create within the market. And we're trying to push that forward. Basically, that was the drive for us to be able to start up Bilaad as an entity, basically.
Let's focus on your mission. A mission of every company is very important because it stipulates and decides how the organization is run. So I'd like to know your mission and how it affects how you run your day-to-day activities in the organization, especially given your department, given that you're in business and strategy. It's important to know how your mission helps you work in tandem with your colleagues.
Well, our mission basically, without saying it verbatim, is for ensuring that our clients are recipients of an unmatched experience when it comes to property and home ownership, right? Now, for us, at the end of the day, the product that we deliver, which is the house, is basically, like we usually say, it's just four walls and a roof, which, practically everybody on the streets can do, right? Both you and I individually, without having to form an entity, can create or build a house, right? For whatever reason, it's something that everybody here and there, especially within our environment, has an understanding of how it's done. But what makes it different is the type of experience that is being created. For us, we look at ourselves as more of being in the business of creating lifestyle, not primarily on the product itself, but on the experiences that you get within the environment. So basically, our mission practically drives us to ensure that it's not just about the house, but in how people feel when they live in the house. So whatever features and functionalities we're putting in place around that particular place must be able to promote the type of lifestyle that we're promising our clients. So basically, what we project to our clients is not the house, it's the experience and it's the type of lifestyle that you're able to live within that particular environment. And in all honesty, it has to be in a sustainable manner. So whatever it is that you're doing, it has to be in conformance with ensuring that you are able to continue to do it on the long run. Sustainability has become the norm and the word of every developer or every business within the globe at the moment. But we look at it from a different perspective. We look at it as mundane as possible. From a layman's perspective, sustainability, generally speaking, is just sustenance, continuous, ensuring that what you start to do today, you can continue to do tomorrow. The little that you're doing today is able to sustain and be available for the next generation and the generation after that. Basically is continuous, and that is ultimately what we're looking out for as an entity.
So let's talk about the culture of your organization and how that culture affects the way your staff interact with prospective buyers, because definitely you want to leave a lasting impression on people that your staff interact with, especially prospective buyers. So I'd like to understand, what kind of culture do you want to imbibe on your staff, and how do you want that culture to be able to stay with them and also move to the end user or your customers that are willing to buy your houses?
Practically speaking, in one word, I would say passion. Right? That's basically what we look for, and that's what we promote. Passion. You see, the passion goes a very long way in whatever it is that we do, as either individuals or as a company or as a business, as the case may prevail. When you have passion in what you do, you take your responsibility a bit more serious, because it's something that you enjoy. You don't do it for the money, you don't do it for the reputation, you do it because you enjoy doing it. And whatever you do because you enjoy it, you do it for free, and you do it very, very well. Yes. No matter how bad you are still open to learning. That's what passion basically does for you. Now, what we try to project, what we expect from our team members, what we expect from our colleagues, what we try to project to our clients is the passion that we have in the business promotes us and helps us in achieving our clients' goals. So practically speaking, we hope to be able to receive, listen, and harness exactly what our customers are saying, what they want, what they think they need, and we're able to advise from a passionate perspective to say, no, this is how it may need to be, this is how it should be, because we try to project a bigger picture for them. So particularly speaking, when it comes to our mission and what we try to project as a team culture is a reasonable and heightened sense of responsibility driven by the passion of what it is that we intend to do. So when we conduct interviews for people to hire, it's not about the competence primarily. Yes, the competence is very key. You cannot do away with it. However, what is crucial in the attitude of the human or the attitude of the person that we're interviewing is basically the passion that they have for what it is they're looking for. You know, in these current times where the jobs are not so available for a lot of people tell you that they are open to whatever type of job you're willing to give them, to work on. However, we look at it from a different perspective. It's about the future. Again, it's about the sustainability, even when it comes to the job that you're asking for as at today. How long do you see yourself doing it? And why do you even want to do it today? We go back as far as when one was much younger and saying, what did you hope to be back then? Because we try to make a connection. At the end of the day, for us as a business, in order for us to be able to drive the type of culture that we're looking for, we have to make sure that the vision that we have as a company aligns with the vision that individuals have for themselves. Because each individual has a vision for what they want to achieve, who they want to become, where they want to be. If we cannot find an alignment with the corporate vision of the organization, then however good you are as a person, technically, we don't want you in our space. Because it has to be in alignment. Because at the end of the day, it has to be that while we're trying to achieve the company's vision and mission, you're equally achieving yourself. That now breeds passion in what it is that you do. That's basically how we drive our own employees and teams.
So that's a win-win for everybody.
That's a win-win for everybody, basically.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your projects. The projects you have now and projects you have completed. Are there any projects you are particularly proud of that you can say and stand and say, I was part of this and this is something I'm very, very proud of doing?
I think for our projects, all of our projects will be regarded as a landmark because each and every one of the projects that we have conceptualized have a unique feature that it has to itself. It will be a bit biased of me to say there is one project I'm saying it's like a flagship, it's like different. But each and every one of them independently have a unique selling point and they have unique features that stands them different from the very next project that we have. Our decision to choosing a project is not only guided, because as a business, obviously we're guided by the finances and the margins that we're going to get. However, it's not primarily guided by that. It's primarily guided by what will be the difference in what we're doing in this particular project amidst the current obtainable projects that we have in the market. So we try to identify what might commonly be regarded as a USP for each project, like for a unique selling point for that particular project, and what will be the competitive advantage of that project, even amidst our other projects. Talk more of what is obtainable externally. So in terms of identifying which of our projects is unique, I think each and every one of them is unique in their nature. We can look at them, each and every one of them, and identify what is peculiar about this particular project, because I think by nature of all our projects, we don't have any project that have been seamless. They've always been, we try to pursue challenging situations because it's from challenges that you create the best outcomes. Through challenges, you create the best outcomes. So when there are projects that are a bit simple in nature, they're not really attractive to us because it doesn't, make us go through the depths of our heads, the depths of our brains to bring out the best that we can get out from our individuals that we have as a team, basically.
So, what gives you the edge over your competition? What gives you that competitive advantage when it comes to various segments of things like design, environmental impact, and construction? What strategies are you employing to make you better off than your competition? Why should people choose you over your competition?
Now, there is a component of business that a lot of businesses don't take so serious, and it's R&D, research and development. We take that very dear to us. In order for us to stay, to remain, or to maintain our position, perhaps as a leader in the market that we perceive ourselves to be, we constantly have to keep researching because we bring up new initiatives, and obviously whatever new initiative you bring up on and it seems to play out well, people will emulate. The moment people will emulate, if you are not careful, people will beat you to your own game, right? So you need to keep moving ahead. When it comes to conceptualization of our projects, particularly starting from design, because practically speaking, every project starts from the design perspective. That's where the concept comes out from. We try to limit ourselves in the number of designs that we work with, right? There are limited numbers that we stick to because we are a prototype real estate developer. Prototype real estate developer basically suggests that there are certain type of houses that we build, and the designs are pretty much the same across board. Yes, as we progress, we try as much as possible as we listen and harness from people who live within the ones that have been completed. There may be some, because nobody is 100%, nobody is perfect, yes. Right? Nobody is perfect. There are some concerns, some queries, some issues, some recommendations, observations that may come up, and we try to adjust in the subsequent ones that we develop. But there is a concept that we have with Edge that talks about building the sustainable homes. It talks about things starting with energy efficiency, going about your window to wall ratio in your design, having the right type of roofing designs and your insulations, etc., etc. So we build for the future, basically. If you look at our designs, our window to wall ratios are superb in terms of sustainability because we have large openings that will able to access, that will able to promote natural lighting in your homes, significant aeration when it comes to ventilation and the likes of that, basically. And that adds to now your reduction in cost of consumption of power because you don't need to have lighting point during the days on all the time. You don't need to have your air conditions on. I mean, I know we live in a very humid weather, so sometimes the heat becomes a bit unbearable, and we need to have air conditions. That now comes about the insulation that we have within our buildings that are able to contain the temperatures that we're able to set, so you don't need to leave your air conditions on for too long. And then there is the component of the automotive components of our electronics that are able to control your consumption. right? If you look at one typical thing that we've assessed over the years is how much power is consumed by our common areas and toilets. Those are things that people rub off on, and you think, they're just things that you can shy away from. They don't really matter that much. But particularly speaking, we conduct an assessment and we see that we can actually save up to about 7 to 10% of your power consumption within a period of 1 month if you control the switching of your common area lighting, just lighting, bulbs, lighting, and toilets. Common area is like your walkway, your staircase area, etc., your balconies, and all of that. Like those are common areas. And what did we do? It was a simple technology that has been in existence for a very long time. We incorporated motion sensing switches. So instead of having your typical switch, you have motion sensors, because those are areas that naturally don't require the lighting to be on until when you're there.
Yes.
One thing that is very common is we're so used to putting on the light when we're going into the toilet, even if it's during the day. It has become part of our nature. When you're opening the toilet, you just put on the light and then you go in. But guess what? When you're coming out, because you actually didn't need that light, you forget it on. And that consumes a lot of power. Similarly, when you have walkways, stairwells, and staircase areas, we put on the lights because you hardly are able to find large windows around those areas, so you need lighting points in those spaces. And then we forget to turn them off because, yes, there are usually two-way switches. You have one at the point of going down and then one at the point of going up the stairwell. But then we tend to forget to put it on and put it off. So it's usually just always on. But then what it does to you is when you have these switches, when you have these automated switches, they only come on when you're there. And the minute you leave there, it doesn't stay more than 10 to 15 seconds and it goes off. So technically, it's helping you conserve energy. And like I said, by assessment, it saves you upwards of 7% of your consumption in a month. And that is significant. In a home where you're consuming up to 100 kilowatt or 200 kilowatt in a month, that means you are saving between 7 to 14 kilowatts in a month. In the current energy consumption rate, that is a significant amount of money that you're saving, especially by the time you prorate it, cutting it across the number of months you have in a year. And you will see that you are saving quite a number of money. Right? As much as these things are a bit are negligible, they tend to add to the value of how you spend your money at the end of the day, because those are resources that by the time you pull up all those resources together and you're putting them together, you are able to do something significant with what you've been able to save. So ultimately for us, in order to stay ahead of the curve, we look at all ramifications, whether it's in terms of design, whether it's in terms of the building technology that we deploy, whether it's in terms of our finishing components, whether it's in terms of our business relationships. So I'll give you an instance. When it comes to our business relationship with our partners, we try to adopt the actual model of real estate development. We don't do construction directly, so we subcontract. Because as real estate developers, we're expected to be project managers. We coordinate the process of creating a product and the services that are going to be provided at the end of it. Unlike what is obtainable in the market right now, when it comes to real estate development, a lot of developers tend to be jack of all trades and they build themselves. You can't really blame them from that perspective because it's quite difficult to have the right type of partners to work with. So people tend to just fall back on, I'd rather be in control and ensure that I build the right type of thing that I am looking for. Because if you are dependent on a partner, it makes it a bit more difficult. You spend a bit more, and then it's a bit more tedious to be able to manage what another person understands, because the vision that you have, the commitments that you've given to your clients may not be the same as the drive of that partner that you're working with. So it's a bit more difficult to manage. However, it gives you the scalability room when you're working with multiple partners, because our major backbone of how we do our business is hinged on collaborations and partnerships. We try not to go into what we know we're not good at. No matter how good we think we are on anything, as long as it's not our specialty, then we don't go into it. So we leverage on specialist partnerships, right? So in every area of business that we do, we try to go into partnerships and collaborations with experts within that particular space so that we're able to deliver the right type of product for the end user. And that is where quality comes into play. Now, when it comes to our deliverables, for instance, on finishing, all these relationships that we establish, because we go directly to the partners and the experts or the suppliers or the manufacturers of all of these products, we're able to secure warranties and guarantees on what we're able to deploy. And what do we do with all these warranties and guarantees? We extend it to the customer. So imagine taking over a property and not having to run any maintenance, not just you shying away from keeping a reserve that you would have to do maintenance before you even start to living, but knowing that by the time you take over this property, you don't even have to fix anything in the house for the next 2 years, because there are warranties on every single installation that is being done, down to our light bulbs. They come with their warranties, that when your light bulb goes off, as long as you're within the warranty period, our facility manager is able to take care of that component for you through the supplier, through the partner. So they provide them with spares that they are able to make replacements where those scenarios happen. So it goes down to our tiling, our doors, our sanitary fittings, our fixtures and features. All of those things that we deploy within the property, they come with those requisite warranties and guarantees of different durations, some 6 months, some 9 months, some 12 months, some up to 5 years, depending on which components we're discussing at a particular time. And those are things that we obviously extend to our customers so that they are able to enjoy the benefit of what they're paying for. Yes, it may come at a premium, but at the end of the day, ultimately, it serves you better because you are able to have rest of mind in terms of your experience in living within that particular development.
Thank you very much. Earlier, you mentioned lifestyle and how it's important for you to give your customers the lifestyle they want. How are you leveraging on technology to be able to improve the home buying experience of your prospective customers?
Now, when it comes to home buying, the IT infrastructure that we have is a bit limiting in Nigeria, and particularly within the environment that we operate in. So, yes, there are seamless methodologies that we adopt when it comes to home ownership. It may not necessarily be 100% IT dependent, but then we try as much as possible to make it as seamless as possible, such that, for instance, one thing very crucial is back in the days in real estate, before you're able to buy any property, you need to even buy a form, right? You need to pay for the form. I mean, some of the developers around town still do that, right? We still find developers that do that. But we feel at the end of the day, why should you have to pay for something that I am supposed to benefit from? I mean, yes, you are trying to buy something from me. Why should you have to pay to even get access to what I'm trying to sell to you? So we made it free so that it's a bit more seamless. And our forms and our application forms are obtainable everywhere, including our website, right? So you can basically make a request from our website for a property purchase. Now, aside from that, we have an enterprise resource platforms that we work with that is able to put together and harmonize all our records. And it makes it a bit more seamless. So generating an offer for a property doesn't take more than an hour within our system. So it makes it a bit more seamless. The minute you submit a form, within the hour, you are able to get an email presenting all the offering documents, the invoice, the quotations, the account details, your payment advice, the details of what you're expected to get in your home, the terms and condition of your purchase, all of that. As long as it checks out with you, payment advices are there. We have not particularly incorporated online payments directly on our platforms using payment platforms, considering the limitations that exist with respect to payments, because considering the large sums of money that may be involved. However, transfers, electronic transfers are obtainable and were easily recognizable, especially in the modern age and time that we live in, that as soon as you make a payment, we're able to confirm it almost immediately, and receipting equally is done within the hour or maximum of 2 hours. You're able to get confirmed, and allocations are equally done in that manner. So basically, the home buying process to a large extent have been simplified. Now, our communications with our clients have been broken down into several stages deliberately, so that at the end of the day, as much as what is obtainable in the market largely is that by the time I've secured you as a customer, especially in our market, in the industry, real estate, as soon as I've secured you as a customer and you've made your first deposit, it means I've already closed you. So I don't need to reach out to you. You will be the one reaching out to me. Right? That was obtainable in the market back when we came into the market. However, what we have done so far as a business primarily is that we try to break down our communication. Yes, today you're buying a property. I could easily give you all the record of information that you are required for your property. I can give it to you in one go. But we deliberately decided to break them into different stages so that at every point in time, we're reaching out to you. And if you have concerns, there is room for you to reach back to us. We don't want a situation where it is as though, because you've paid, where you are now at our mercy. We want a situation where it's a symbiotic relationship, wherein at all points in time, we're communicating to you, you're communicating to us, you're able to feel comfortable, no matter how aggravated you may be by virtue of one or two things not going the way that they're supposed to go, because obviously nobody is perfect. There are some certain flaws, there are some certain mishaps that may happen either internally or by virtue of externalities that may arise, and it will require our communication for you to be able to understand what is going on. So our home buying process has been cascaded into several stages. So if you buy a property today, you get a welcome letter. Immediately after a welcome letter, it takes a few moments before you get your letter of allocation. After a letter of allocation, you get your periodic progress update that comes in quarterly, every 3 months after your purchase. After that, upon your completion of payment, you get a contract of sale. After a contract of sale, after that, you get your deed of sublease upon completion of the property. So at several stages of the project, because most of our projects are being done from an off-plan perspective, we tend to continue to communicate with you because we understand that the best customer we have is you. If I don't take care of you, I don't get tomorrow's customer. So I need to make sure you're doing well because you are my best marketing tool. If you are happy, if you're satisfied, if you're comfortable with doing business with me, you'll talk to other people about me. So I'm going to make more sales through you than through whatever medium of advertisement that I'm going through. No matter how much I spend, I'll spend a lot of money going on billboards, being on social media, having people, marketers going around, speaking to people, etc., etc. But the best person that would market my property, obviously, is my first customer. Because it's my first customer that actually has the first-hand experience. They're not speaking from any buyer's perspective. All those other mediums may be speaking from buyer's perspectives. However, you as the customer, you're speaking from an original perspective, from an orthodox perspective. So it's my first customer at the end of the day.
That's terrific. So let's talk about Nigeria as a whole and look at the market in its entirety. There are a lot of economic challenges in Nigeria for people based on various policies by the government, but people still want to buy houses. It is something that is sacred. Everybody wants to own a home. I would like to know what financing options and incentives are you giving or have you made available to make it attainable and realistic for prospective buyers to be able to own a home?
Certainly, the major challenge in purchasing houses in our understanding and experience has never been with respect to pricing, especially for our own products, hasn't been about pricing, location, or the type of house. It has always been centered around the payment options that exist. About 80% of the failed transactions that we have are largely guided by that. So obviously, we're constantly working on developing multiple models that would be able to bring in a few more clients back to us. Yes, as the case have prevailed, we have a couple of payment options that we have created. It used to be between an 18 to 24 months payment plan we operate in. However, especially in the current market conditions that we have, in the current economic climes that we find ourselves in, and the instability of our currency at the moment, we were forced to have to review our payment options to somewhere around 12 months because the uncertainty of how things change in the market have been significantly high. However, to a large extent, we have been able to secure partnerships with financial institutions that are able to provide bridge financing, whether commercial banks or fund management companies that are able to step in. Back in the day, in our earlier years, we've been able to secure partnerships with Federal Mortgage Bank and other primate mortgage institutions that are able to step in for clients. However, one thing led to another, and to a large extent, we've been able to, we were forced to have to renegade that option as part of what we're able to accommodate, except where the customer is able to structure and process those payments directly on their own, we're willing to be able to accept those type of models. To a large extent, our payment options are still a bit flexible. As much as we have a duration that is fixed, the payment structure, meaning what you're able to pay down and how you're able to spread it, is subjected to how the customer sees the convenience to their own liking. However, we put a timeline and say if it's a 12 month, it has to be within a 12 months. How you choose to pay can be subjected to how you feel you're comfortable with, depending on the sources of funding that you have. If it's going to be an 18 months, it's also open to the customer to decide how they want to spread. Yes, we have a standard practice. However, we're a bit nimble and flexible when it comes to how you break down those payments. How we intend to incentivize payments as well is with respect to where we're able to promote a significant down payment, or, if possible, on very rare occasions where clients are able to say, I'm willing to do an outright payment. Those are mostly for businessmen or people who have properties elsewhere, and they're willing to sell that property to buy one of ours, which means they're able to secure a significant chunk of funds that they're able to key into our properties. So when it comes to those options, we can consider up to a 7.5% discount on any of the property types that we have, as a discount that comes where you're able to bring in a forward payment, either as a bulk and bullet outright payment or a significant down payment. So it hovers somewhere between a 2% up to a 7.5%, as the case may prevail. In terms of the payment options, like I said, we have the payment plans that are being done directly, but where one wants an extended payment beyond what we're able to accommodate, which as at today is 18 months maximum, we have financial institutions that are willing, as long as the off-taker can pass their credit worthiness search, then they would be willing to finance that individual for the property that they are buying with us.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about affordable housing, which is a crucial point because a lot of people in Nigeria are low income earners and they're not able to afford houses. There is a deficit in the affordable housing, which then creates an opportunity. Is this an opportunity that Bilaad Realty is trying to take and mind the gap and fill in that gap in the affordable housing market?
Now, yes, there is a triangle that we've cascaded when we were doing our segmentation from our early stages. We've segmented the market into three, right? There's a triangle that we work with, right? And the triangle is divided into three. Obviously, at the apex, where you have the smallest size of it, is where you have the high-end earners, high-income earners, and that's where you have the luxury development. At the middle sphere, where you have the average number of people, is where you now have the premium development and the middle income earners. Right? At the bottom of the pyramid, which is the largest component of that pyramid, is where you have the low income earners, which is where the majority of the income earners in Nigeria exist, right? So basically, affordable housing is categorized for those individuals, and that is where the largest market exists. But you see, in our business model, it was a deliberate decision, because as much as the larger component of the market exists within the affordable section, doesn't mean that there is no demand for premium and luxury housing. And we decided to play only within the premium and luxury market deliberately, because there are individuals who equally require the services of people who are willing to provide those type of products. And for us, in order for us to bring a middle ground between premium and affordable, there is what we refer to as the mid-premium housing. They may not commonly be regarded as the affordable housing, because the affordable housing would have to deal with locations that are slightly outskirts of town, developments that are not at the level of finishing that we tend to provide. So basically, they might be regarded as social housing, which, naturally speaking, if any private individual is looking into doing that type of development, they're going to do subpar development in order for them to get the profit margin that they're looking for. However, affordable housing is expected to be guided and driven by government policies. It has to be. That's the only way for it to make sense, as long as we want to deliver what is fairly habitable for the low-income earner. It has to be guided and driven by government policies, right? That's why they call it social housing, because government is a social service, right? It's a driver of social service. Now, for us in the market that we operate, we've cascaded it into three again. but not inclusive of the affordable housing. So we've broken down the premium into two categories. So you have the upper middle income earners and the lower middle income earners. So we basically only operate within the middle income earners sphere and the high income earner sphere. Within the middle income earner sphere, we have the mid premium, which is meant for the lower middle income earners, of which some of the low income earners can qualify for if they're able to structure a payment from either a commercial bank or any of the federal mortgage institutes, or the primary mortgage institutes rather. And then we now have the upper middle income earners, which is largely for the premium middle income earners. And then you have the high income earners, which is now for the luxury developments that we have. Now, as much as we would want to bridge the gap, it's very, very important to understand that there is equally a gap within the premium and the luxury developments, as the case may prevail, because there are individuals who are not villains, who have earned their monies, either through legitimate means or through their businesses or whatever the case may prevail, and are equally yearning for good properties that they can purchase and enjoy the fruits of their labor. Those are the gaps that we're filling as well. Now, a lot of the initiatives that have been put in place within our market are largely guided by affordable housing, mainly because that is where the largest gap exists. But there is equally a gap in those areas that we're working on. So at the moment, our developments are largely guided by the middle income earners and the high income earners, but not so much within that particular sphere. We will eventually get there. We have subsidiaries that we have set up that are basically targeted at developing sites and services. In those areas, that is where we find the low income earners development to happen, because for us, we've done the assessments and we've seen that largely if we say we're going into the affordable housing section, it may not necessarily be affordable, because for us, we do not at any cost compromise on the quality of what we're supposed to deliver. Now, as a private developer, like I said, if a private individual on their own intends to do affordable housing, believe you me, the only way to make it affordable is if you're going to compromise on the integrity of what you're going to deliver. There's no way to make it cheap. There's no way to make it affordable for the low income earners that we have and the standard of living that we have within the market. It's only government that can subsidize that type of development. So for us, we felt as opposed to doing something that is going to be subpar, it's better we even shy away from it and stick to what we know we can do and people can afford. That's basically what we're doing at the moment.
Thank you very much. A big bone of contention when it comes to developers and their prospective buyers is trust and reliability. When I say trust and reliability, I mean developers delivering their projects on time to their prospective buyers. Can you say Bilaad Realty is synonymous with trust and reliability when it comes to delivering their projects when they say they're going to deliver them to their buyers?
Okay. Now, I would say this from a general perspective. Just like you said, it's a common cancer that had been, eroding the industry on a large scale. There are several factors that have to be put into consideration. We're not excluded from it. The issues surrounding our market, I've mentioned one of them earlier on. It's the liquidity infrastructure. Every developer is a government on its own, to a large extent, unfortunately, where we find ourselves in. You are the sole provider of your infrastructure, you're the sole provider of your land, you're the sole provider of your resources, you're the sole provider of everything you require to be able to develop and deliver the product to the customer. Now, there are several instances that are in place. I made mention of something earlier, and I said the major backbone for delivering projects is liquidity, the resources, the finances. It's very crucial. Now, the liquidity infrastructure that we have, if you are having to go and source for funding external from the off-takers that you have, the cost of your property will become significantly high. So this is what developers do. They create a hybrid solution. They source for funding externally, but not for the entire project, so that they break the cost. It reduces your cost. And then you source for off-taker funding. Now, one thing that has been eroding the market on a large scale is the default risk, the default rates that we have in the market. The default rate from meeting up with the payment terms that customers have signed upon has been largely eroding. Some customers are apt and precise, and and they're following through with their payments, but some are not able to, and not because they don't want to, but because the timelines are just too short. And at the end of the day, one way or the other, we still have to make do with what we have. Now, not to say that this is the primary problem that causes delays within the industry when it comes to deliveries. There are certain issues that are peculiar to us as individuals and as developers, which comes to our project management practices and our developmental practices. There are externalities that tend to happen, especially within our economies of uncertainties, that you would have to deal with as a private developer that causes this type of delays. However, one thing is crucial: communication. If communication is done right, then no matter how much you delay, no matter how much you fail to deliver on the time that you're expected to deliver, as long as the communication is there, it reduces, it doesn't eliminate, but it reduces the tension that exists within the market. One thing that will eliminate it is, at the end of the day, as long as you're going to deliver what you promised without compromising on the quality or the standard upon which you had promised in the first place, then at that point, when you're handing over, no matter the delay that had happened, it eliminates all that has happened before and people are happy. The main thing that causes the problem within the market is delay will set in, and then at the end, because the developer is struggling to be able to meet up, not because they misappropriated the funds, but perhaps inflation has set in, and inflation affected them because the resources that they were expecting to receive did not come as at the time that they were expected to come in. It now affected them. And at the end of the day, it's a contract that you sign. I can't go back to you and tell you, add money. I mean, some developers do. But I know that for a fact, our business model does not even allow us go back to our customers and say, because, there were delays, there were this, prices have changed, I need to review the price, etc., etc. We don't do that, right? Best that we do is there are conditions surrounding how we treat defaults. It's either we move you from the development that you're in to a phase that would be delivered at a later time, or we renegotiate and we revoke the property from you. And then if you're still interested, you buy back again at the prevailing market price. Those are conditions that we're able to set, but it takes a significant amount of default before we even get to that particular perspective, because at the end of the day, we understand that there are limitations to what is obtainable when it comes to the payment structures that we even work with as an entity. There are limitations that we have. So to a large extent, deliveries are sacrosanct. However, externalities cannot be estimated. Things can come up at every point in time. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be straightforward with you. From our inception, we've not been able to meet up with any of the projects that we've delivered. We've not delivered any of our projects at the time that we set to deliver them, right? However, the beauty of it is that at the end of our deliveries, constantly, every single time, at the end of our deliveries, clients are satisfied because they end up being happy with what they got, because it was exactly what they were promised at the end of the day. So to a large extent, we've always delayed maybe by a month, 2 months, 3 months. I think the maximum we've delayed so far is just about 6 months away from the official delivery date that had been communicated. And believe you me, along the line, before that delivery timeline, we must have communicated to say, these are the issues that we've experienced, and we're hoping to reestablish those timelines, and we're going to communicate. And we eventually do communicate those timelines. These are things that, because you're working in the open environment, certain things that may arise, you really cannot control, right? So there are issues that may arise. And usually the timelines that we communicate are usually never sacrosanct. It's that this is our estimated program. This is how we intend to achieve it, all things being equal. But then not all the times things are being equal. Challenges do arise, issues will come up, and I can guarantee you that there has never been a time where we were faced with the delivery of a project failing solely because there were misappropriation of funds. Everybody knows who our executives are. All of us that are pioneer staff within the organization have an understanding, and everybody who knows us, we don't live the type of large life that a lot of real estate developers do. Because as far as we're concerned, if a project is not delivered, we don't have a profit margin on it yet until we deliver the obligation. And that is the strength of which we use to operate. For our clients in the market in diaspora, the one thing that they appreciate, because we do have a couple of them, I think about 10 to 15% of our customers are clients in diaspora. And for those clients, the main thing that they appreciate is the openness and the clarity of communication that we tend to provide to them. As much as there are delays, like I said, because the communication is constantly there, where they're able to accept and understand that, okay, there are challenges, there are issues, but we're on track, we're moving through, we're still pursuing them. Part of the incorporations that we did at a point in time were live feed cameras. We tend to install cameras on site, and we give our clients access such that they are able to view. So even if you're not in town or you're not in the country, you're able to view and see whether project is going on, where are we, what's going on, and what have you. So that by the time you're coming back to site, we're able to do that. In addition, I mentioned we do share quarterly progress reports. Those progress reports are not just grammar. They come with pictures backing them, individual units. So we take the progress report by client by client. That's how tailor-made we don't do it for the entire project. We do it individually per client. So for each client, we take the pictures of the progress of your home, except where we're still at the structural level of the building where there's no specificity of which one is yours at that point. Then we do a block progress report. But then progress reports tend to give people a significant level of communication as to what is going on. If people are happy with it, they say they are happy. If they're not happy with the progress that they see, they start to call and we respond. But at no point in time, we deny to respond our clients' queries. We're always open, we're always available, we've always been available, and we've never been shy away from accepting the flaws that we have as human beings and as an organization, and we take responsibility for our flaws at any point in time.
I'm really glad you said you don't deliver some of your projects on time, but I'd like you to shed more light on why this happens, because a lot of buyers and customers will not want to understand or see your own perspective when it comes to why projects can be delivered on time. You mentioned inflation, yes, as one point. Are there any other things? What are really the complexities that cause these things to happen so that projects that have a hard date are not delivered to their customers when they're supposed to be delivered to their customers?
Now, you see, I made mention of something about a model of implementation that we adopt. As a real estate developer, we take the standard practice of real estate development, which is tied to subcontracting. So we stick to ourselves as project managers, and when we partner with construction companies. Now, I made mention of the reason why some of the developers don't do it. It's not because they are being greedy or they just want to make more money. It's because at the end of the day, partnership comes with its own issues. Because at the end of the day, I have my vision and I have my drive. It's not necessary that the partner I'm working with has the same vision and the drive. I will try as much as possible to ensure that I secure a partner who understands my vision, but then it may not always be the same. Now, part of the issues that may arise from our own perspective in the model of development that we adopt is that sometimes we may have fulfilled all our obligations to ensure that those timelines are met. But then on the other side, the vendor that you're working with, either the contractor or the subcontractor or the vendor of supply, may be facing some type of peculiar issues from their own perspective, either from a procurement perspective, either from a management perspective, either from a process perspective. They're facing some challenges of which you're limited to how much you can influence what it is that they do. The worst that you can do is to sanction them, and if it becomes too stringent, you get them out of the place and you bring in somebody new. But you see, during those transition periods, time is lost. Yeah. And those time lost, obviously, will now start to affect the delivery timelines that you must have set. That is one problem. Secondly, externalities tend to happen. Sometimes you find that a lot of the things that we do, unfortunately, we're not a largely producing nation. Unfortunately. Now, because of this, you find out that your deliverables, what you need to be able to deliver on your product, are largely dependent on supplies that are not local. So you would have to depend on timelines. Yes, there are procurement calendars. You need to do things ahead of time. But even at that, because of the nature of our environment, wherein, unfortunately, at every stage of logistics, everybody is only interested in what they are going to get. So some things don't go according to the timeline, right? So you tend to have some delays in some places, maybe because there's somebody who has not been sorted out and all of that, which has not been part of your plan. but then you would now have to do it eventually to be able to get away with it, right? Policies do come in place that would change the dynamics of how things are done, right? And then it causes delays in terms of what it is that you're able to do. Weather conditions come in play, and then you're not able to predict some of them. Yes, as much as when we're developing our programs, we tend to factor the wet seasons, right? However, there is limitations to how much you can plan for the wet seasons. And then when the wet seasons eventually come, it may not be according to how you planned it. So it may change some dynamics for you. So we tend to incorporate some buffers to accommodate some of these external issues. However, we're only humans. There's only so much we can plan for. There are things that will just be out of the control of what we can do. Yes, is it possible to have a project start on a particular date and end on a particular date? Yes, absolutely right. It is possible. But this is where you have all your cards and all your chips on the table. As long as there are dependencies that will have to be outside your control, then you cannot guarantee it. Because there are people that may not share the same vision that you have set. As much as you will try to communicate it with them, there is a limitation to how much they are able to do for you, as the case may prevail. So the issues surrounding it are large. The timelines that we set for projects cannot be sacrosanct. They can just be guidelines to say this is what can be anticipated when it comes to deliverables. I can tell you for a fact that in this Abuja that we operate, there is no developer that is able to set a timeline today and deliver at that same time, except where they have their resources and their deliverables on their table. That's the only way.
Okay, thank you very much. It is widely said that collaboration fosters progress. Your partnership with Gida, how do you think is going to add value to both you and your prospective customers, both home and abroad?
Now, you see, for us in Bilaad, just like I said earlier on, the success, the core component of our success is hinged on collaboration and partnerships. Again, we're project managers. Sales is a specialist program. That's how we see it. And we have to leverage on affiliate engagements. So far, the success of our transactions from the beginning have been recorded through affiliate transactions. And why is that? Because you cannot beat the network that an affiliate program can give you, no matter how robust your internal team can be. I think by assessment, the history of Bilaad had indicated that 60% of our revenue comes from affiliates, people who are not employed by Bilaad. 60%. Only 40% is accounted by the internal team that we have, either through our sales team or through our staff or etc., or the management or the board, or as the case may prevail. Only 40% is generated by that, but 60% is largely guided by affiliates. So that already shows you that it means we're doing the right thing, considering the strengths that we're putting in place to ensure that we collaborate with partners who have a significant amount of network and reach towards establishing all of this. Now, for the advantage that we foresee getting from Gida, to be precise, it goes beyond just the sales. It adds to the convenience that we believe will come through for our clients, because part of the engagements that we've had with you as Gida is with respect to the payment options that exist within the platform. The platform is able to provide record keeping for the clients, because I'll tell you this for free. Part of the challenges that we have with our clients is the constant reminders and the constant requests for their own documents that they come back to, because you share documents with your clients, but then at the end of the day, it gets lost, right? But the beauty of a platform like Gida is that the documentation is pretty straightforward. As long as you have a profile, you know that every single time you go to your profile, you log on to your profile, you are able to see all the transactions that you've done. Sometimes clients, I can't tell you the number of clients that have come back to the office and tell you, please, I need the record of all the payments I have done. Now, if we don't keep those records for them, how do they now keep track of those monies, right? So there are several instances, there are several advantages that we hope that we'll be able to get. It increases our ability to reach our clients in a more seamless manner, because progress reports, progress reach outs can equally be conducted through that. One particular thing that I'm hoping to be able to explore on the platform that I believe is going to be an advantage is the touring. Touring can be done on a virtual note, and it could be done either physical. So scheduling tours is going to be crucial. Yes, we do have a scheduling platform, on our website. So if you want to conduct a tour through our platform, you can go to our website. There is a platform that you can request for a tour, and then an agent or a customer or a customer relations officer or an investment advisor will reach out to you depending on exactly what you want. But in addition, GIDA is able to even conduct the tour on the platform, through the platform, and through a registered representative that is able to protect your interest. For us, at the end of the day, GIDA is coming as a third party to share, to add an additional comfort for the customer who's intending to buy and the developer who's intending to sell. At least for us as developers, we know that GIDA is going to bring us a legitimate client because there are some checks that you will conduct as well. For any customer to even be onboarded on your platform, you need to establish some level of checks to be able to ensure that this customer is even able to pay for the property that they're talking about. It reduces the number of people that we engage with because they are going through you. And we know that out of 10 people, if out of every 10 people we speak to, only 2 are even eligible to buy, it may be able to reduce that for us to say maybe it's out of every 5 we're getting 2, or out of every 10 we're getting 4, right? Because it goes through a screening process of GIDA. Now, for the customer, on the other hand, as well, they get the level of confidence that says, at least when GIDA is involved, they know that whoever is behind the curtain as a developer must have been vetted, confirmed, and reliability has been assured by virtue of the reputation that GIDA has been able to establish for the customer. So to a large extent, we want to believe the situation and the relationship is going to be a win-win because ultimately, we are a reliable developer, we're a reliable partner that is going to provide you with the right type of products that you will be proud and confident of projecting as an entity for yourself.
Thank you. We look forward to the partnership. I'd like to end on a lighter note. I think it's fair to say you're a pioneer in your own right in this industry. Also, you're a founding member of this organization and an entrepreneur in your own right. Can you really tell me or explain to me or give me points on what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur? I say this because you have people looking up to you or looking up to people like you in the various spaces. What would you say drives you, despite what challenges you have faced, what hurdles you have had to climb? What do you say drives you and keeps you going, to make you a success?
Well, the question that you asked is quite long. I'll start from the perspective of people who are intending to become entrepreneurs and going into several business fairs. My passion has always been surrounding business. It's not just particularly about real estate. I have experience in agriculture, public sector, in the private sector, in IT. My official background is computer science. That's what I actually studied. However, I did my master's in business administration afterwards. I've always been passionate about business and entrepreneurship as a whole. I've always been a driver of conceptualization. I like seeing ideas converted to concepts and eventually bring forth as something in reality. That has always been my drive. Now, one thing I would say out there is we have to serve. Young people must serve before they become entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs don't just come up as being CEOs of social media platforms or Instagram CEOs and all of that. I think I had an interaction with someone that says all those people that call themselves CEOs on Instagram and don't even have a business are basically traders because they just buy from one place and sell in another place, right? So they're just traders. And trading is a good business too. I mean, it's quite lucrative. I do trading as well. So it's a good business. However, to become an entrepreneur, there are some certain things that you would need to have. You would need to build a network. You would need to build competence and you need to build knowledge base. And the knowledge that to be built has to be a generic one that qualifies for any type of business that you do. So one thing that I hold dear to me is with respect to how you become one, how you become an entrepreneur. You need to find someone to learn from. And learning is not a function of being a follower. When you're working with anyone, you need to be a student, not a follower. And being a student means whatever that individual whom gives you an instruction tells you to do. Don't just take it for its word. Use your initiative to drive the result, but not just to do exactly what you're told to do. That now gives you an edge in practically understanding what is required to be done. And one thing that is crucial as an individual, whether young or even old, as the case may be, is that at the end of the day, you need to work hard on yourself more than you work on your job. Yes, it's important to work hard on your job, but working hard on yourself will give you a better result on your job as opposed to it being the other way around, because that's how you grow yourself, you build yourself. You need to prepare yourself for the day that this job is no longer available for you, or the day that you become bigger than this job. That is what we're expected to thrive for. As individuals who work in various spaces of business, we're expected to grow bigger than the business, not for the business to grow bigger than us. But unfortunately, in the modern times that we find ourselves in, we realize that businesses grow bigger than their employees. And it's supposed to be the other way around. The employees are supposed to grow bigger than the business. And that is what creates sustainability in business. Because you become bigger than your job, you leave, but then you must have groomed somebody to take over your position. And you leave. That person will come with a fresh set of energy. And they come in, they take over, they drive the business further, and they become bigger than the business as well. And they move on, and then somebody keys in. While you go ahead, you start up a new business, and that is what builds economies. So to a large extent, the legacy that I would like to keep is for me to be able to set up someone who is able to take over the position that I am holding in this position. In the next maybe 5 years, I'm able to leave and move on, hopefully to something bigger than what Bilaad is as at today, either on a personal note or through a conglomerate or through a group or a partnership. I'm practically open, but again, conceptualization, business ideation is something that I know I will forever be passionate about, and I will continue to do.
Thank you so much, sir, for having us. It's been a pleasure talking to you. To our viewers watching out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, buy a house on Gida.